Well, good morning, everybody. I guess we have ourselves another campus answer hour. Today's we're going to be just going through some general stuff, and it's also a time for getting some feedback from you about what's working, what's not working. One of the things that I'm not really clear is how many people are reading the campus newsletter and getting that information. So I thought we'd cover some of that initially and then kind of find out what might be on your mind to see what we need to do, what's working, what's not working, and kind of go from there. So begin with our agenda for today is taking a look at what was released here last Friday. Again, looking at some frequently asked questions and answers, and then again, getting some information from you as to what's working and not working. Now, our release last Friday, one of the problems that we were noting is that when the legacy system was moved over, that we had some QRC firms that had double entries of their name and address. And of course, because of the way that campus is set up, the group administrator was unable to remove that double entry without first getting permission from the rehab registration specialist. We had a bug in the system and we got that fixed so that the registration specialist was able to grant permission to have that second entry removed, and therefore all firms should be able to do that if that situation exists currently. As far as frequently asked questions, one of the questions that we've kind of come up with that's been going around and around is the question about withdrawal of a rehabilitation file to the department's vocational rehabilitation unit, or VRU. Now, as you all know, the only way that you can do a withdrawal is if there is a primary denial of liability or a further denial of liability. And if we're using an R3, that situation, of course, is if the employee is going to go ahead and dispute that. Typically, at that point, they filed a claim petition indicating their disagreement with the insurer versus the employee who does not contest it, at which time we would be using an R8. Otherwise, the withdrawal cannot be used by a QRC for any other reason. But as far as the steps that are involved with that, as you can see from the first bullet point here, the thing that you need to do is confirm with the employee that yes, they are going to be contesting that. If they are going to be doing that, then we'll be using the R3 withdrawal process. So of course what you would do is you'd go into your campus dashboard, go to the My Rehab Cases tab, open up the disputed file, and go to the R Forms detail, which is of course at the top bar, which is in that gray button, and click on it. You select the R3, go down for submit, hit next, and then you would select that. When you would hit withdrawal of the QRC, then you would go to next, write something into the proposed amendment or rationale section saying something like withdrawal of QRC due to insurer denial of liability, and click next. Now, of course, there's no reason for us to be completing anything as far as any of the other service categories or provisions or projected costs, because this is a transfer. You're done. Following that, what you'd want to do, of course, is to upload a cost breakdown sheet of the services that you provided, all the way from the rehab consultation to any medical management, return to work coordination, job placement, etc. You would sign, your e-signature line, check the confirmation box, and then go ahead and hit submit. Oh, the other thing I forgot though is you also want to go ahead and attach either a copy of the primary denial of liability if the insurer has sent that to you, or an email, or some message that shows that this is the case, that there is some kind of further denial or denial of liability from the insurer that's disputing continuation of the rehab plan. Once you submit the R3, you should receive a confirmation through campus that says that it has been sent. And of course, you do as you have always done in the past. You make a copy of the rehabilitation file of all the documents and send that to the VRU. The post office box is noted on the slide for you to do that. And then, of course, following that, distribute a copy of your R3 change of QRC and a note saying, hey, this is what we've done. We've forwarded the rehabilitation file to the vocational rehabilitation unit. Another question that we usually get, is pretty frequent, is the case that we have duplicate RT files that have been created. And initially this was certainly due to the process of folks just trying to get familiar with the campus software. So either A, they were clicking the mouse multiple times, creating multiple files by mistake, or they would get an error message and then they would click on it again and trying to submit it. So what ended up for some folks was they ended up having multiple rehab files on the very same client, very same date of injury, claim, etc. And of course, there was no need to work all of those same file. So needed to go ahead and close duplicate files. In the past, what we were doing was saying, hey, send us a note to the help desk and we will address it. But right now the help desk is working really hard on trying to coordinate claim shells with claims, and of course to follow up on missing first reports of injury. So what we've done is we've done a workaround on this. So what we'd like you to do is go ahead, if you have dupe RT files right now, please just go ahead and send them directly to Joanne Jacobson. Her email address is listed here below, but that's Joanne, Joann .early, like get up early in the morning, at state.mn.us. Identify the RT file number that you want to have closed, and she'll be able to do that for you. The other part that, in fact, I just touched upon this, was the fact of insurers who have not yet filed a first report of injury, and our help desk team that's been working on trying to get that resolved. What they've been doing, the help desk has been sending these kinds of requests over to the claim shell team to go ahead, again, to see if they can connect the claim shells to the claims and or any first reports of injuries that may have been filed out there. The main thing that you need to know is that there's a huge backlog on this. So whether it's getting the claim shells connected up or requesting first reports of injury right now, we're working on that stuff. It's not going to happen quickly. The thing that we would advise that you do is go ahead and do the initial thing first, of course, is follow up with the insurer to make sure that they did file a first report of injury, FROI, so that a claim has been created. If they say that they have, they should be able to provide you the claim number, the employee's WID number, that will help us at least start looking for that process. And then either sending that information to the help desk and or to myself or Joanne, so that we can see what we can do to make those connections for you. And the last one that we have been finding recently is that we've been having QRCs that have received notices that they need to go ahead and renew their annual registration. And there's been some question or confusion of, well, geez, I'm new into campus, but I've been a QRC for many years. Which do I do? Well, the answer, of course, is you're going to be renewing your registration with the department, which you're going to be doing through campus. So you complete all the information. If you need to go ahead and upload your CRC or CDMS certification with that to show that you are current, go ahead and do that. Of course, if there's interns that are involved, if you don't have your certification at this point, of course, what you need to be doing is to be submitting your 20 CEUs per year to make sure that you're keeping up with your registration requirements. The other part, of course, though, is that you will still need to check, as in the past, send a check to the department's financial services unit. There at 443 Lafayette Road North, St. Paul, of course, 55155. We're not able to submit payment through campus. It's something that we'd like to get to have happen in the future, but as for now, you'll still need to go ahead, go through the paper process of sending in a check. And that's kind of the information that we've been going through. This stuff that you've seen before, as far as where you can get the latest updates on campus, is to go to this Campus Central page. And of course, the easiest way to do that is either click on the link when this uh, PDF gets posted, or of course, just go into DLI's website, go into the Work Comp Campus section, and at the top of the page in a red box will be the Campus Central page that you can click on and start getting that information. And I guess this is the part where we say, hey, is there any questions that are out there? And I'm going to maybe ask Mike here if you can maybe read them to me, because since I can't see anything.
Hi, Mike. And there is a question in the chat, and it is about if you could clarify the circumstances when a QRC would file the R3 with a denial of liability or further liability versus filing the R8 with a denial of liability.
Ah, yes, great. All right, so the R3 withdrawal for further denial or primary denial of liability is filed when the employee is disputing the insurer's claim that the claim is not admitted. And what they've done generally is the employee has filed a claim petition, or their attorney has done that, disputing the action. So legal action has taken place, and if it at that point you say, listen, I'm not sure that I'm going to get paid by continuing to provide services, this is a good time to go ahead and send the file over to the VRU, so there's not a disruption of services for the injured worker, and so that they can be continuing to work through their legal process of disputing the insurer's assertion and still receive services. Now, with respect to the R8, the insurer in that case is also filed either a primary denial or further denial of liability, but the employee has not contested it. So at that point, what you can do is say, all right, we have this dispute. The employee may say, listen, I wanted to dispute it, but I need to find an attorney first. What you would do in that case is go ahead and since they're not going to do anything here in the immediate future, go ahead and file an R8 withdrawal. And when you're doing that, you still want to go ahead and put the information in as far as the cost breakdown information, and submit that. That will also, a copy of that will also go over to the VRU. In the event that the employee does go ahead and get an attorney and they start up some litigation, then that gives a starting point for the VRU to begin working that file. But at that point, because it's an R8, the file will go dormant. And of course, we'll want to make sure that a copy gets to the RU also of that file, so that they have that.
Thanks, Mike. Just a point of clarification on that too. The QRC withdrawal R3 is the campus routes that referral directly to the VRU, and that comes into comes to us so that we can see that and act on it. If they do an R8, you would route that R8 to us as another party by US mail or a fax. There's another question here, Mike.
Okay.
So Julie says, I'm still having issues with change of QRC. I submit the signed authorization and receive an email from DLI stating the auth has been accepted and I know how and have access. When attempting to complete the R3 in campus, the case still shows the previous QRC and won't accept the new QRC number, or I can do the entire R3, but it won't submit.
Okay, well, I guess that leads to me to be thinking about a couple things. One is that in the Campus Rehab newsletter, we talked about the very specific steps that you would need to take for that change of QRC, which includes, of course, what you've already done, was getting the authorization form signed by the injured worker. But there's also those other steps that are supposed to be taken after that, which kind of leads you so that you should be able to grab and pull that file over to you so that you can begin working that. If that's not working, then of course reach out to the help desk and let them know what the problem is, and invariably it'll be Joanne or myself that will look at that and see what we can do to provide assistance.
Carol asks, when QRC renew and they send their payment to financial services, does any paperwork go with the payment, or does that get filed in campus?
I guess I'm not understanding what paperwork is being referred to. I mean, normally what you would do with the check is you would indicate on the check that should be applied to your registration as a QRC, the firm, or if you're, vendor, if it's your firm and that type of thing. So you're referencing what it's for and what your firm or QRC number would be.
Mike, this is Darcy. I think I can answer that question. I think in the past, prior to campus, what they would do is they would submit their registrations along with the check, and it would go to financial services, and then financial services would forward the paperwork to the rehab registration specialist. It just needs clarification that when QRCs, firms, or vendors are submitting their checks for payment for their registration, they just need to indicate on the check that it is for either their QRC or their firm registration or vendor registration. That way, since financial services will no longer be getting that paperwork, there won't be any confusion on financial services part.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Darcy. Oh, and that does remind me too, the other part about that is that with respect to confirmation that your registration has been approved by the rehab registration specialist, that comes through a campus email. And at this point, that's all you're going to be receiving. We're not going to be sending out any other official type of letter that says that you're approved. And along with that too, with the new campus system, it's not automatically updating your registration expiration information on DLI's website. Now, it's something that we've put into as a request to get changed in the future, where the new system will talk to DLI's webpage and update the spreadsheets. But the thing we got to tell you right now is don't rely on that information. I know that there were some firms and there's some companies out there that like to be able to look at the spreadsheet just to confirm that the registration was approved. Uh, there's a disconnect because of the old database to the new database. So at this point, the email through campus that your registration's been approved and that you're good for the next year is what you're going to get. Other questions?
There was one, but Joanne answered the question is, do I provide a copy of my certificate with the CIRC or DCM? And Joanne says, yes, you can upload that certificate in campus. We also have a follow-up question or an add-on to the previous comments about the I believe this is regarding change of QRC. And Sally observes the QRC number box is programmed to the previous QRC and not the new QRC. I've had the issue twice, but I think it's a programming problem, not a matter of following the steps.
Okay, well, maybe Sally, when you come across that, let's get together so we can actually see what you're doing. We can schedule a Teams meeting, because I'm not picturing that in my mind. But once we can be able to see it and actually take pictures of the process, if it is a programming situation, then we can get it to our IT folks and they will actually see what it is that you're seeing. Any other questions?
Sally says that Joanne has the information she believes, so I guess we'll follow up with Joanne and see if there is that something already put in for that question.
Okay. Okay. And I see that Brad Morris has joined us. Brad, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think this has all been good. I just wanted to talk about some of the upcoming release we're going to have. We were able to incorporate some of your feedback. So coming up, we will be able to have, after you filed your RCR and there's not a claim on file, it's not allowing you to file anything else. So we'll start this month on the 25th. You'll be able to file your R2s on that. And then we'll work towards getting the R3s filed at a later date. And we also have gotten approval from security to extend the timeout from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So you shouldn't be getting timed out as much anymore. That's all I had for you, Mike.
Okay, great. Well, we've got a couple more minutes left here in this half-hour section. Any other questions? Should we just go ahead and let you go so you can go ahead and do an early lunch?
No questions in the chat, Mike.
All right. Well, going once, going twice. All right. 3. We're out of here. Again, if you have any questions, though, that you think about afterwards, feel free to go ahead and send me an email at mike.hill@state.mn.us. And I'll let you all go. Take care and have a great rest of the day.